Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I am your host, your purveyor of all things dorky within the scope of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grum, and I am Flemmy. So I'm going to try to keep these intros and outros a little shorter because you're going to have that, and because I'm in the car, so I don't have like I guess I do. Anyways, look, so good time ahead of you this week is myself, Robi, and for the first part of the podcast, Wheezy XL, Big Wheezy himself, and it is a good time. Good time. We're talking about Prince Iaukea's rebranded gimmick, or re-gimmicked as the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea. And Robi's a huge Prince fan, and Wheezy too. So it is, I got two of the more loving of Prince to then see what the first attempt at a Prince-like character in wrestling. Unfortunately, the better version turned out to be a shitty person. So like we don't talk about a certain dream of who's also purpley. So it's just a matter of it's we'll never get to talking about the good Prince wrestler. But no, we talk about Prince Iaukea. It's a good one. Next week's episode, it's not recorded yet. It is planned. It's scheduled, so we'll get to that. But in the meantime, I'm working on putting together. So I got I've talked about this before. So I am working on getting back into the rhythm of things with the content I make and kind of getting the ideas and whatnot. So that includes the Patreon exclusive episodes that the Elite of the Elite get, and I got one episode, one of them. It was Great American Bash 2000. I'm working on getting some more stuff out there. It's just a matter of the best way to do it is to do like 2 or 3 things in a single day, and it's just a matter of finding the day to do that, specifically on a weekend, because I don't work, but also the weather's nice, there are things to do, beautiful woman in my life to spend time with, so that's my thing. No, I'm not calling you holeless. I'm not. Somebody's going to be like, oh, Grum's calling everybody holeless because he got a girl, he got a partner to hang out with, but no, I'm not. I'm just saying that I'm just, a little bit talk, but I have been, I should say, streaming a little bit more on grum.tv and twitch.tv/tgrum once a week. I'm working on I think so last week's episode with Gerp and Shmoo's like you should had suggested an idea that I've been working on or brainstorming, which is like teaching people, explaining wrestling for dummies, as a fan, explain wrestling to a non-fan. And like the lingo and how these things, and that's kind of what the dork side is, right? Like inadvertently, and I find that those are my favorite portions of episodes, is explaining like maybe wrestling history, or explaining like terminology and ideas and psychology of wrestling and whatnot. But it's also like wrestling is subjective, right? I say that a lot on the podcast, that what I like about wrestling might not be what somebody else likes about wrestling, and vice versa, right? Like some people enjoy car crash wrestling, or wrestling matches that don't have story behind them, but they're two really good wrestlers, and I enjoy some of that. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. Like I do enjoy when two really good wrestlers just wrestle. Like I enjoy seeing, like I talked about this, I've talked about this like on stream before. But like I enjoy indie wrestling. I enjoy like, hey man, like Lee Moriarty's wrestling this guy, and and it's like, or Darius Carter's wrestling this guy, and it's like these are really cool things, but there's no story behind it, and the individuals try to hype up, but the promotion itself is just like, y'all take care of that. We're just gonna put the show on, and like it made this idea of like how I would want to, if I had the money to do it, like they're like, oh, don't go into the restaurant business, like also don't don't become a promoter, but like I would have like a monthly event, right? And then just like have like 2 or 3 YouTube episodes a week where you're kind of like building up the story, right? So like if you're a fan of the product or you went to the show and you want to see or you know this or that or like hey like this is what we got for the next one, you got the build up. Um, it's just a matter of like I don't know. It made me think about like my content and how I would like to do my content, and then by proxy, like that's the dork side and do all that stuff. All that to say, we're getting back into things. Support.grum.tv is how you can support said content financially. I'm gonna work on some stuff, and I was talking. We got me and the Atomic Bear. We got some stuff planned, so be on the lookout for that. I think we're announce it next week. On here, I think it'll be announced by then. But yeah, that's all I got for the little talk before. So myself, Robi, Robi, and BigWheezy himself, Wheezy XL, talking about the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea, here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Look, my brain is fried. It is. I mean, I know Robi was sweating. I know you were sweating it, Wheezy, this week with that quote unquote historic once in a lifetime type heat wave that's happened.
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
I feel like
it's been in the hundreds all week.
Yeah. This is a once in a generation. As they say every 4 months. Like.
Yes. It'll never happen again.
Never seen anything like it except for last year.
I hate this generation. They could have kept it.
Yeah. You know what? Hot. Worst the greatest we're the worst. This is the worst generation. Anti us. That is. Yeah. That is
anti generation. We are the find out generation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fucking around. We're finding out.
We didn't even do the fucking around. That's the problem.
I know. No, that's all we got to do is find out. That's it. We don't get the cool part.
We don't get the fun part. We're the consequences generation. They're the
sowing. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Reaping. What the fuck? No.
Yeah, we're the reaping. Yeah. We're the reaping generation.
We're the reaping generation.
For many. Yeah. Well, that works because they said the millennials killed off the Applebee's and the Chili's, the beloved American establishments. So I mean, it makes sense that we reap.
Well, maybe if they spend a little less money on brunch and eating all those avocado toasts.
Damn millennials.
A job and a house.
Then I could still go to Applebee's.
So I don't do the whole avocado toast thing. I don't, so for me, that joke always flies. It's just jokes, right? My girlfriend decides, or she likes avocado toast. So whenever she decides to have some avocado toast, I have to stifle. I'm like, that's why Applebee's is out of business right there. What you're doing right now, you're killing some franchisees' dreams of being rich off of a Applebee's franchise. How dare you? Where do you get off?
Where do you get off? Selfish.
Think of the economy. They need us, and you're here spreading avocado on bread.
Putting fruit on bread.
How dare you? We used to be a civilized country. We used to spend too much money at a pizza buffet. What?
We're not talking about. We're not hating on.
I'm pizza. Not. No. Don't get me wrong. I love as a kid who was the weird kid who didn't like pizza. I still loved going to Pizza Hut because the smell of Pizza Hut is a unique smell. And if if you didn't smell the '90s in Pizza Hut, you're missing out on something. That's our generation's like, oh, you didn't smoke the peyote that we had when we were growing up. It's like you didn't smell the arcade room in a Pizza Hut that hasn't been cleaned in a little bit.
You haven't used the brownish red tinted glasses that they had.
Man,
those cups.
Whenever I get around to buying a house, I am buying replica glassware from Pizza Hut. I don't care if it's not classy.
Stop at a thrift store.
Yeah, like I could do that as well. I may also just say fuck it. I'll pay $120 for like 6 cups and some plates. Like that
Are
just
you
so
gonna pay for
happen.
the replica grind too,
Maybe I
and
might do
the
that.
replica the fungus under the table?
Yeah. I mean, I might do that myself naturally.
It's he could only afford imitation fungus.
Yeah.
Mm,
Look, there. What I
yeah.
really want is I want like. I don't want to, but now it's in my head, so now I kind of want to. But like, have like an island in the kitchen, but above the island is the same salad bar like lighting fixture from a Pizza Hut.
Oh,
With the
disgusting.
stained glass.
Yeah,
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 with the very stained glass.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
stained glass.
Yeah. It's yeah, no, it's like you can't see out of it. It serves no purpose. It might as well just be a block, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I want. And I'm sure it's possible. I just have to, put my mind to it. Once you put your mind to it, you can do anything, they say.
They say dream it and do it. That's what they say.
And I dreamed having the two of you back on the dork side of the ring, and we're doing it.
Wow.
We got BigWheezy, Wheezy XL. How's it going, bud?
What's good?
And we've got on the other side of the table, Robi.
Yeah. What up?
Hey, bud, how's it? Good, glad to have you guys. This is a fun one. It is a fun one. Both of you, I think, have an idea, maybe, because I had asked a question in the cord, and then promptly messaged the two of you after responses had been made, whether you remember that or not. But we'll get to that because that's part of the contextual questions. But for reintroducing purposes, we'll start with you, Wheezy. Tell the people a little bit about you, where they can find you, and anything you would like to promote.
You can find me on the Twitterverse. Just getting these tweets off, mostly retweets. It's under Thrill Murray on the TL, and not really promoting anything. Check out this episode. Don't change the station, and I'm sure we're in for a fun one.
Don't accidentally double tap your AirPods to skip, and if you do, go back.
Exactly.
On the other side, Robi, what about you? Promote. You've had some minor what I would call minor social media growing moments with some tweets pertaining to one Chris Paul. But tell the people about you, where they can find you, and what you'd like to promote at this time.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned the Chris Paul tweet. I thought you were going to mention the other thing, but well, get that later. But yeah, no. Robi, Y, 4 E's, 4 R's, OBI. Anywhere you need to find me on social media on the internet, you can find me. If you find my Facebook, no, you didn't, because I don't get on there anymore. That's not me. I'm a different person. Yeah, no, I don't really have anything to promote. I almost had a basketball podcast once, so that was cool. If I reboot that idea, then maybe, I'll have something to promote. But otherwise, no, I'm just chilling, just on here with some friends.
Man, what a podcast that one or two times.
Man,
what could still be? Who knows?
Listen, it's still in the works.
It's still in the works. It's a process, We can't look that one's a more fleshed out thing and requires timeliness. Whereas like with the dork side, it's just like I can record an episode and not in June, and it won't be heard until maybe August, maybe September. Who knows? Because it's ever.
Yeah, as I say in the biz, we're still in production.
Yeah,
we'll edit that out in post, right?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I do as little effort into the editing as possible because like my thought process is like, it's a conversation and none of us are like the only people I have on are good people, so there's no need to like. No one's stepping out of line to be like, oh, let me take this out to protect them.
All right, let me censor this or anything. No.
Like, we say what we say. Like, I've always, the good thing is I've always said this, and unlike a previous thing I said where I had talked about, like, I would always be, like, like, at one time I had said I was pro DaBaby, this is before he went and became an asshole, or well, not
The
became,
punchy,
but he revealed himself to be an asshole and just a very problematic person. Almost immediately when it aired, I'm like, oh wow. Other than that, that's everything else I've said has aged gracefully, including saying Vince McMahon rents hell out to Satan. It's just
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, like, it's just like, like I do. It's like people like I got messages like OXO had like, bro, did you know this? Like I found out that this happened. And I was like, yeah, no, like wrestling's terrible. I think it was like Stone Cold. Stone Cold beat his wife. I'm like, yeah, he beat Deborah. Like his on like the like not like off screen like wife, like also on screen. And like,
yeah, and it was a very public thing.
Very,
if I remember correctly.
And people just forget about it because it happened in the '90s, and Austin's talked about being being an alcohol, or not being an alcoholic, but being depressed and just going to alcohol and like the things it made him do. But then he didn't really like do anything to like repent or rehabilitate himself, and it's just like, I guess everybody's gonna forget about this. All right, whatever. Like, you know what?
And surprise, surprise, it's Stone Cold, so people did.
Yeah. I mean, look, like Jimmy Snuka murdered a woman.
Dog.
Like, and I've known about that for like well over a decade because I'm as a wrestling nerd, it's like, damn, like Jimmy Snuka was arrested for murder, and nothing ever happened.
Like me did not learn these things through Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah. It's like yo, that's a little concerning that no one did anything in the 80s and no one seems to be doing anything outside of this, message board. Like,
no.
Like, that's why it's always fun when people like finding the dark side of the ring stuff. Like, it's just like, like, oh man, the plane ride from hell might have been my favorite thing. Like just people finding out that not only was Ric Flair just showing his dick off and groping women, but so was Dustin Rhodes. Also at the time, Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall are fucking around. Like they're doing this, and then I go, that's not the only plane ride from hell. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, there's also the one where, Vince McMahon wanted to wrestle Kurt Angle and slap him.
Oh, yeah.
And he goaded him into it to where he was slapping him in the back of his head, and Vince like agitated him to the point where they start wrestling, and then they bump into the Undertaker, and the Undertaker wakes up from his in-flight sleep and basically grabs him by the gruff of their neck after they tackled each other into the fucking like emergency exit door.
Oh god.
Like that's another, like there's so many plane rides from hell, and it's just like, when I'm like, I can't wait to see which one they do, and they ended up doing the arguably the worst one, but like it's just like, Jesus Christ, man, it's ridiculous. But
and listen, how big your hand has to be to grab Kurt Angle by the back of his neck, considering he has no neck.
Yeah, right.
Kurt Angle ain't had a neck in 25 years.
And Vince McMahon also has a very has very little neck. He's very
well. I was about to say, was this roided up Vince by this point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, roided up Vince is very recently retired. Ever since Vince been on the juice since probably since the 80s. I'm damn near sure.
Oh man, that early? Okay, see,
yeah.
Because I feel like I noticed a point like around the time a little bit after I first started watching, like in the early 2000s, where he just got so much noticeably bigger. I was like, wait a minute, something's got to be going on. I thought he was hitting the juice like Barry Bonds. And no, according to what you're telling me, he's been on the juice the whole time.
Nah, he's always been big. Like he's always been about like his own physique, and if he's like, I'm gonna do that. So, but there was a time, like you said, where he cranked it up, where it was just like overdrive. He got the HGH too. It wasn't just the juice anymore. Yeah. He had he had the cream. He was rubbing the cream into every orifice. He's like, I'm gonna make this muscle bigger, this muscle bigger. I'm gonna make Barry Bonds' forehead look small. Like that's my plan. But man. Yeah. Speaking of wrestling experience, Robi, remind the folks of your experiences with pro wrestling.
Oh yeah. So I got into wrestling. Obviously, like I said before, I started with wrestling because my big mama was a huge wrestling fan. My grandmother's mother. Uh, I would sit with her when I was too young to really know what anything was going on, and she'd be watching WWF matches, and she would go like to the Dallas Sportatorium all the time and see matches live. I started watching it when I was like for myself. I was about, I don't know, 8, 9-ish years old, probably a little bit younger, like right at the tail end of WWF. So very late 90s, super early 2000s, all the way through, I want to say about 2010, like really the peak of sort of like the very end of like the John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge years. So I got all through Batista, my favorite wrestler, Rey Mysterio, all those guys. I got the whole, well, I got the back end of the Hardy Boys phase, and then like the entire Jeff Hardy piece was also one of my favorite wrestlers. Uh, who was also arrested fairly recently, but we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, that was not fun to see. I was like, man, I really hope Jeff gets it together. But yeah, no. So mostly all the 2000s, peaks and valleys, pretty, spotty like into the 2010s. But yeah, that's about where my sweet spot is.
All right, Wheezy. I know you're. It's one of the most, most memorable for me backstories of how involved your fandom for wrestling got.
Oh yeah.
But if you want, remind the people a little bit about your background with pro wrestling.
So very similar to Robi here. My grandmother would also sit me down and have me watch the wrestling with her as well. And even though we were states away, she would call me on Tuesdays because I couldn't stay up late enough to watch Monday Night Raw. So she would give me the action. So when I watched SmackDown, I was caught up on the happenings. It was a great retelling of every episode. It was great. The Eric Bischoff era, all of that. It was great. And then to expand a bit, when I was, in elementary school, my parents, to keep my writing skills up, they would have me write episodes of Raw and SmackDown so that I could, have some creative writing skills. And it kept me, from becoming a wrestler myself. Touch on some education while you're throw some steel chairs into your writing. I'm sure that'll help. But yeah, similar, like again, very similar to Robi here. I was, late Attitude Era through the Ruthless Aggression, and then right into that Orton Cena feud. I think the last full push I saw was when they brought The Rock back to go against Cena the first time, because I remember he called him Fruity Pebbles, and I love that. Because he called his shirts. He goes, "You come out here with your Fruity Pebbles shirts. You say your catchphrases," and I thought that was pretty good. But that was the last major push I saw. So that was around the time I stopped watching. But love it, love everything involved, and it's fun to get back into it. Revisiting everything. So.
Yeah, both of you have dipped the toes and dabbled your feet into the ocean of pro wrestling and sports entertainment once again. Mainly because I just sit here and keep talking about it in our common places, and it's like, well, might as well look into it. Grum and Jim Jam are just talking about it nonstop. Might as well see what's going on. But yeah, no, that the Rock coming back hit home in such a way. Like I had, what was that? So it was 2011. Yeah. So like 2011, my uncles had like passed within the last couple of years, and they were big wrestling fans. They were the people who got me into wrestling, and like seeing The Rock back, and I'm like, damn. Yeah, I'm gonna I had like, it had been like years since I had been like, yeah, I'm gonna text my uncle, talk about wrestling, and it made me forget. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I sent it anyways, to which the person who got the new number was like, oh, cool. And like to me, my brain was just like, I know that's not them, but that's kind of cool that wrestling. Like, I just totally texted a random fucking person that The Rock, fuck yeah, The Rock is back on Raw, and they're like, and they go, oh. And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, cool, all right, and then I never texted them again because it felt weird, but yeah, no, like, I don't know, like Rock coming back was fun. It got tired fast, and then like it got good again because he kind of realized that he couldn't just rely on the catchphrases for 10 minutes. You know, they're like, you go out there for 10 minutes, and he's like, all right, well, my catchphrases and everything fill up 5, so I need another 5 minutes. Might as well actually try. And it's like, oh yeah, he's damn good. Like that's good. Yeah, it's just The Rock's one of the GOATs. And I just know, like, you know, we were talking about like Stone Cold. You know, Hulk Hogan has his stuff. Ric Flair has his stuff. The Rock is the best that maybe doesn't have anything, but also probably does. Like,
yeah, The Rock is the one that's also the most embedded in Hollywood. I guarantee that man is a certified psychopath.
Yeah, you know, played at the U, right? Like in the early 90s.
Right, right, exactly.
Like, there's definitely, and it's just like that. You know what? Like, maybe people just like him so much that nothing comes out. But like, I would not be surprised. Also, like, at the very least, you can dig him for speaking at the Republican National Convention in 2000. Like, you know. Like,
that's pre 9/11 era discussions here. Hold on.
Yeah, so
said his dead ball there.
Rock says those towers didn't come down, so know your role and shut your mouth.
Rock says,
well, because it was interesting because it was during a time where like Rock Your Vote was a big thing, and Rock Your Vote, not Boat, Rock Your Vote, and and WWE tried to get in on it, and they're like, all right, like Smackdown Your Vote, and like they got really into it until 2008, and then 2008 they stopped smacking down the vote, and I could only think it had something to do with the fact that one candidate was actually much more suited to win, and they didn't want to like they did the whole like, we're not going to pick sides, but it was very clear that the company leaned a little bit more red, and thus, you know, you saw them. I think they sent somebody to the Democratic National Convention in 2000 as well. But
wait a minute, you mean to tell me that John Laurinaitis is a Republican?
Oh, a bunch of dudes that like to run around in suits.
Yeah, right. I want to see Smackdown Your Vote.
Dude, I totally forgot Smackdown Your Vote. Also, why would they not? They still had The Rock on the roster. Why not just keep with Rock Your Vote? Well, I guess because they're not gonna promote anything they can't make money off of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Because if they wanted to make merch, they couldn't do Rock Your Vote merch and then make money off of that. They could do Smackdown Your Vote merch and then make money off of that.
Yeah.
This man
is going
hero of Vince McMahon. I know it.
Well, so it's like WWE has this weird. It's such a weird thing, right? And of all the forms of entertainment that like is out there that people, you know, like, oh, like this and that, like WWE is like acting in both, in like they talk out of both sides of their mouth, but like their mouth is always open, so it's not like they're like, it's like, all right, like, which by the way, I'm pretty sure that expression is like, when they say both sides of your mouth, it's like your mouth and your ass, but everybody just assumes it's like the sides, like, of your actual mouth.
Well, wait, because I hear like both sides of your neck.
See, and that when I heard both sides of your neck, that made sense, right? Like, I'm like, okay, but when you say both sides of your mouth and you realize, oh,
the mouth is one hole. There's one.
The mouth is one hole, right? It's your mouth and your asshole. Like, damn. All right,
I didn't even think of it that way.
You know, like, okay, yeah. When I found that out, that was such a wild thing. I'm like, oh wow. But But like WWE, like currently, right? They have Be a Star. They promote LGBTQ, raising awareness for domestic violence and stuff like that. And they have their hands in all the corporate things that you're supposed to as a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go and accept money from the Saudi government to host state-funded shows. And,
Yeah, because it's like you said, like, they're talking out of both sides of the neck, or their mouth in this case, but the mouth is what. It's like, we see what you really think. It's right there.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find the... So this thing just was talking about like remembering it, and like was also bringing up that like the Barack came on in 2000. Like they had Barack and John McCain be on a Monday Night Raw in 2008, and like
why don't I remember this?
I don't remember it either, and I'm like, all right, new Dork Side thing coming. Gotta put that on the list. Like, there are other things that I remembered, like, they had parody presidents and whatnot. I think it was WCW did, at the height of the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky stuff, had Bill Clinton appear, and, like, they advertised that Bill Clinton was going to be at a show. Maybe it was WWF at the time. Somebody, one of the two, had.
I was about to say this reeks of WCW,
but
It
like,
does.
but in 98, right? Like or 97, when like wrestling is getting good, right? Not when these like we're reaching for stuff here,
super gimmicky, and we're doing publicity stunts.
Like, we don't need the publicity stunt, but we're gonna do it anyways. And
yeah, I was just about to say, like, did wrestling ever like see a publicity stunt that it as an industry it just could resist? Because even when wrestling got good, like I said, around the time I started watching, this one shy away from no good publicity or bad publicity. All publicity was good.
Look, I told Trill and Sex J this for episode 52. They did I showed them the Hollywood Backlot Brawl from WrestleMania 12 between Roddy Piper and Goldust. Originally, it was supposed to be a match between Roddy Piper and O.J. Simpson. Like, the real O.J. Simpson. Yes.
The one with Goldust.
The one with that match, the Roddy Piper, which is infamous for the cut-in of the O.J. chase, right? And
Yes.
And also for the ending where Roddy Piper strips Goldust down to his skivvies, which is a corset and what is assumed to be women's lingerie. And then to win the match, originally it was going to be Roddy Piper versus OJ. And they had talked to OJ's people about it, and OJ looking to do anything, right, to make any money, right? He didn't care. They were down to do it. And people were telling like Vince, like, "Hey, don't go anywhere near him. Like, you don't understand. You don't get it." And Vince is like, "God damn it, pal! We'll just have Roddy beat him up, and then we'll get the justice that was served." Yeah.
That
Which is the
only way this could be funnier is if this was OJ mid-trial and he had to wrestle with the kufi on too. That's the only way this could.
Like, this
This
is in '96, right? They started talking almost immediately after the trial was over. Vince saw that there was the justice system failing to convict a man who many believed and still do believe murdered 2 people, and he got away with it. And he even, damn near gets as close to saying, "Yeah, I did it," without saying, "Yeah, I did it." 10 years later or so.
Haven't you heard? It was OJ's son who did it.
Oh, okay.
Robi knows he's tapped in.
Haven't you? Don't you read the internet?
No, not that part of the internet. I stopped reading that part of the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
You're not tapped in.
Yeah, they wanted to get the actual OJ in, and like it had been as far made a deal as Roddy Piper returning to WWE television in January of '96, talking about how there's a lot of rights and wrongs going on in America and in the WWF, and that he was back to right the wrongs. Not just the not the wrongs in the WWF, just the wrongs in general.
Man, where was Roddy Piper when Rodney King was getting his ass beat?
Right?
Why don't you go right some of them wrongs, bro? There's plenty of wrongs if you just writing wrongs in California.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. He was in Scotland. Sorry.
Listen, the Scottish got some wrongs they want you to write too. Well,
but yeah, no, it like just the shit that like WWE, like you said, if there is a chance for publicity, they'll do it, and like, which is wild because like like he was like, I'm trying to look at it. I don't think they sent anybody for, they didn't send anybody to the Democratic National Convention in 2000. It was just The Rock went to the Republican one.
Like they just sent anybody. They sent The Rock.
Yeah, Dwayne. Yeah, they're like you.
The company, yes.
Yeah.
How much clearer do they have to make it? They're showing their support. Damn it.
Honestly, I think the only way it could have been better is if they sent Kurt Angle.
So he.
Hold on. You think Kurt Angle comes out in the tights they play?
He's in the tights and the gold medal. He's got to be.
Do you think the Republicans would also be like, "You suck, you suck"?
No, they would be. They would think that they just.
There's no way they know that chant.
No way. They get
the kids might.
The Rock shows up though, and they're like, "Yo, it's a Rock," and he showed up just in like street, not even like the silk like shirts or anything. He showed up in just a suit. That's it. The suit with like a button. He's got the white shirt unbuttoned, no tie. They're just like, yeah, no, that's fine. You can do that. You're
he showed up in a seersucker suit like one of the Pixies from the Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh yeah. I'm reading this from an article on LinkedIn, right? So I don't know. This is somebody who the headline was WWE Smackdown Your Vote: a political or a presidential election game changer in 2000. So this is something. It's an excerpt from another article, Trump Mania, Vince McMahon, WWE in the making of America's 45th president. Right? And this was for the 2020 election. So this is just context. But it's like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson attended the Republican National Convention in 2000. He was given a speaking slot in the wrestling stronghold of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and even introduced the Speaker of the House, Dennis Hassert, as a, quote, honorable former amateur wrestling coach. It would not be until 2016 that Hassert was sentenced to a 15-month in jail for performing bank transactions in an effort to cover up sexual abuse of young boys on the Illinois wrestling team he coached. The statute of limitations had expired on any actual charges related to sexual abuse.
Listen, I was about to start making some white collar jokes, and then you said that second part. I was like,
yeah. Hassert said that The Rock had registered to vote that very week and that young people should register to vote, just like him. Later, he sat with George H.W. Bush.
Wait a minute. How old was The Rock at this time? What did he mean he had just registered to vote?
In 2000? Let's see. The Rock's like 50-something right now, right?
Right.
So
okay, so maybe he's in like his mid. Oh, that's a bit more excusable because I'm thinking he's like almost 30.
He
just registered.
He's 50. So he was 28.
Yeah, but what do you mean he just registered to vote?
You've been able to get.
Hey, 28 years old.
Hey, look, he was knee deep in some pie,
All right, well, hold on.
Oh, okay, so hold on. I'm sorry. They did send somebody to the Democratic National Convention. They sent China and The Rock, but they didn't. But they didn't speak. They didn't have a speaking slot at the actual convention, but they were at the convention. They debuted public service announcements for the Smackdown Your Vote, the first time the PSAs had been made outside of the WWF television.
Okay. Oh, I swear to God.
Where was it? Okay, The Rock was in attendance at behest of WWE as part of the Smackdown Your Vote campaign. The Rock assured interviewers that WWE did not portray murder or rape. This is in 2000, mind you. And 2 years later, they would insinuate murder and insinuate rape and then do simulated necrophilia within the span of 3 weeks.
I was about to say, how many times did Vince, quote unquote, die? Because I don't feel like that's true.
He didn't. No one murder. Yeah, but that's not murder. Dying and murder are two different things. Murder.
Well, I feel like he's been murdered multiple times too. Quote unquote.
No. The only person that's ever been murdered or attempted murder. Shane McMahon attempted to murder Kane multiple times, and I guess you could say Kane attempted to murder people, and the Undertaker did bury people alive. He also threw man. There's been a lot of like attempted murder,
that's what
you know. But
well, okay, yeah, attempted though.
It's all attempted. You're not catching them. They've got a better trial lawyer than OJ.
They do. Jerry McDevitt works very hard. The C-SPAN commenter Steve Scully stated, what a name, Steve Scully, stated that he had no idea who The Rock was. Look, all right, I understand.
Find out.
You have to live under a rock to not know who The Rock was in 2000. I understand that wrestling was a young person's entertainment thing in 2000, but to not know who The Rock was in 2000 is mind-boggling.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm allowing bias to bleed in, because I feel like now, like, his accomplishments, and now especially since he's gotten to Hollywood and acting like a legend, and like his reach has grown a lot since then.
Yeah.
So I feel that way too. I didn't know if it was unreasonable to feel that way about someone not knowing him in 2000, because I know he was a star at that point, but I'm like, I don't know if he had the reach necessarily where that dude should have known who he was. I wouldn't be shocked if he should have, though.
When The Rock said that the viewers knew what he was cooking, Scully awkwardly asked him what he was cooking.
That's like in Pirates of the Caribbean, and
You making some stew, Dwayne? What is that?
They got Barbosa and Jack are on the Black Pearl, and he asks Jack, Jack, what are you doing? And he goes, what are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they keep on going back and forth. That's gotta be it. This guy is clueless. The Rock fucking. What are you cooking?
What? No. It's just.
I will have some pie.
Yeah, The Rock came out to his entrance music and remained in character, and said, "quote Let me get this straight. You invited The Rock to the Republican National Convention?" And that's it. That's part of the story. WWF then invited Al Gore and George W. Bush to have 5 minutes each to speak on SmackDown in the run-up to the presidential election in 2000 in a SmackDown challenge. That summer, WWF had registered 40,000 voters as part of the Smackdown Your Vote campaign. Pretty good, but also
that's great.
Also kind of scary that 40,000 people were not voting.
Like, what the fuck?
Look.
What do you mean you registered your vote for SmackDown and went back on?
40,000 people who were waiting. I'd vote.
It's time to register.
Yeah, you think Stone Cold's voting too? You think I can see Stone Cold voting? Oh, that'd be so cool. Could you imagine it? You're in the booth next to Stone Cold voting for the president? So cool.
Like, Trish Stratus is in her. Oh my God, she just pulled out a voter registration card. What is that?
Now, hold on a minute. I'm not saying that you put Trish Stratus in the voting booth and I'm there first day.
Listen,
she's Canadian. That's the thing is, she's Canadian.
I just thought about that.
She's
I forgot she was Canadian. Okay, that's a slip up on my part.
Look,
that's illegal for her to be doing that.
We'll get Chris Jericho in the booth too.
Also Canadian.
Also Canadian.
Yeah, but he does. Well, he is an American citizen. He was born in Manhattan.
Oh.
But he grew up in Winnipeg.
All right, we'll get Bret Hart in the booth.
Also,
Oh, son of a bitch!
we'll get the Great Khali. All right, now I know you're not paying it. Now I know you're.
Right.
It's just like, you. Here's the thing, though. Chris Jericho, you won't find him in the polls. You will find him at the Capitol every January 6th.
Well, he's got a carpool with his wife.
Yeah, he's gotta go. He's only picking her up and walking her to the door. Which door? Probably inside. I don't know. Mick Foley, serving as the WWF commissioner at the time, invited the candidates, quote, to speak directly to the youth of America. Jesse Ventura was invited to moderate the discussion. Linda McMahon said that, quote, we have a wonderful forum to reach out to them. You have to have a sense of fun. You have to have a little humor in the campaign as well. The campaigns told the media that they were reviewing the invitation to the debate. Neither candidate did appear. According to the LA Times, Smackdown Your Vote helped the company to curry favor with Republicans, shocker, as that it is a party that the company's fans support, according to Gary Davis. Quote, and what could be more ideal than voter registration in a presidential election year? We want to represent our fans, middle America. It was a win for all when The Rock participated in the RNC, and Davis attributes it to interesting fans in politics. Let's see. Trying to see where I want to see if there's like more stuff that is just like like ridiculous. Baltimore Sun reported that volunteers set up tables at 6 p.m., but there was already a lack of Smackdown Your Vote t-shirts. The volunteers were offered shirts with "Come Get Some" on the back, which was said to have made some uncomfortable. He said somebody said that he was not going to be voting for the Gore Lieberman as they could be card-carrying members of the Right to Censor, which at the time was a group mocking like the parents censoring. I think it was like the PTC, was it something like that? And they were like parents teachers censorship. It was basically a bunch of parents that were mad at how raunchy television had become.
Oh, boo!
But they were making fun of it. Like that was the whole, like they're poking fun at it. They all dress like they're preachers, like white tie, like Mormon preachers, black,
Yeah.
The God.
They had Ivory. It was Steven Richards.
Yes.
Ivory and
no, and Bull Buchanan, and then they went and got the Godfather, turned him into the Good Father, and
as a stipulation of losing to Right to Censor, he had to give up his hose.
And then they beat Val Venus, and Val Venus had to give up porn.
Yes.
Wait, did he have to give up the theme too? The entrance?
Yes, he lost. Yeah.
Oh no!
Look, Robi, what do you think their entrance music was?
Oh my God!
What do you think Right to Censor's entrance music was?
The opening song from the movie Omen.
That would have been an upgrade.
That would have been an upgrade, yeah.
It was a bright red siren on the screen, and then just the siren noises of them coming out. Yes, it was
not good.
Just like an ambulance siren?
No,
yes.
No, not even worse. Like even worse than not even a tornado siren. It was just like loud, the same sound over and over, like a buzzer siren almost. It's like it had no rhythm to it. It was just like meh.
That was constant production. Let's put it that way.
But I mean, it was part of the whole it's a part of the whole thing of it. Is like you hear this and they're all great. Boo.
Yeah, it was all to get them over. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, there was a time where I would have believed Stevie Richards would have cheated his way to becoming the world champion.
I still believe it.
Yeah.
Say, what do you mean?
Okay, so here we go. All right. The night before the hotly contested election between Bush and Gore in 2000, the WWF revealed its true hand. During a matchup between the Hardy Boys, a popular young free-spirited team that many fans looked up to, and Right to Censor, an oppressive, overbearing group in button-down shirts and ties, Jerry Lawler was provided the opportunity to compare Right to Censor to Al Gore and running mate Joseph Lieberman. In a contrived exchange, Jim Ross asked Jerry Lawler who he was going to vote for. It seems like Lawler hesitated for a moment, and it was hard to hear him. Ross asked him again who he would be voting for. Lawler's confidence now grew, and he said he was not going to be voting for Gore Lieberman, as they could be card-carrying members of the Right to Censor because they love to censor things, naturally. Ross reminded viewers that the King's views were his own, but qualified to say that it does not mean he was voting for Gore Lieberman either. Lawler then stated he was voting for Bush, and reminded viewers that they were in Texas. The next day, one would yield one of the closest presidential elections in history, with only 537 votes separating the candidates in the decisive state of Florida. With millions of viewers at home, could Lawler have influenced 500 to 600 fans to go to the polls and vote for Bush?
Son, like, first of all, do you mean to tell me Jim Ross was not voting for Al Gore? Color me shocked. Secondly,
Yeah, the Oklahoma boy.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not expect us to talk about the Smackdown Your Vote, but that is a future dork side. Like, that's a preview.
I was gonna say it's gotta be.
I'm doing it. I might do it. Celebrate the midterms. Who knows?
Hey, there we go.
But yeah, the idea that I didn't know that, right? So what I just read the first time I ever knew that, I'm like, I need this. This needs to be the dork side, and this match in particular.
1,000%.
But the idea that Jerry Lawler could have influenced 600 people to vote for Bush.
Jerry Lawler quite literally swung a vote. He swung an election. This man fixed an election.
Dude,
I feel like his reservation first of all, in his own land that he owns in hell, but his reservation might have been upgraded.
That is
like how they mess up, like there's a clerical error or whatever, and they give somebody a room, and they apologize or whatever, and they move you up to like the presidential suite. I feel like that's what's happening. No.
Yeah. No.
What happened?
I don't. Man, I just feel like I can't get. I heard every word you said. I'm still getting over the fact that Jerry Lawler is the reason why there was a hanging Chad.
Because they like to censor things.
That's all it takes. All those.
Yeah, that's all it takes because people are dumb.
Yeah. So it's the can you score on Harrison Barnes in 10 shots? These people can have the same vote as you. Arguably more, depending on where you're living.
Listen, I was just about to say, yeah, depending on what your electoral college vote usually looks like, what your area usually looks like, yeah, that vote might mean more than yours. It's unfortunate.
Just imagine, little Weezy was watching Raw, and that completely went over. Weezy said, no, that's right. Weezy couldn't watch Raw.
Couldn't watch Raw.
He couldn't watch Raw.
That's my vote.
Because they like to censor.
Said.
My grandmother gave me that one later. Like, and then Jerry Lawler said,
"Vote Bush."
Believe what he said about those Democrats.
I got up and ran right to the poll.
Grandma, you're breaking up. What was that? The Democrats. Damn it, the Democrats.
Oh man, I don't know how to transition to what our topic is, but I will just straight up go to the contextual question of the week. Favorite Prince song?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's the one from the Batman.
Which one? Party Man?
I literally had it in my head. He goes, oh god. It's
I was about to say, if you can sing a bit of it, I can name it.
Hold on. It's the one when the Joker goes and it's Jack Nicholson. He goes and he paints around the art museum. Hold on. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Robi, you got it. I'm gonna find this.
Okay, yeah. So my favorite Prince song changes every couple of months. I feel like for a while it was this very particular live version of "Strange Relationship."
Ooh.
Right now, it is. Oh, it's probably Bambi. Probably.
Okay.
Bambi. I just love the guitar on Bambi.
See, I knew I had to get you on this topic because I know you're you are who I consider the go-to Prince guy. In the chord, because there is nobody who took more offense that Prince lost in a one-on-one to multiple times.
Yeah, I've made my Prince stand shit known. Also, I lied. It's not Bambi. It's Why You Want to Treat Me So Bad. I was thinking of a different song on the Prince self-titled album.
Banger.
But yeah, no, I'm a known stan. It's true. It's fine.
And there's nothing. Look, there are worse musical acts, and it's damn near all of them to be stands for.
Yeah, it's definitely Party Man.
Yeah, that's a good one. There you go.
Yeah, because he goes black and white, red and green. That's a banger.
Yeah, that song is amazing.
That literally was in my head yesterday. I was saying that. I knew I had it. I just got this mental block, man.
All good. Now look, mine. It goes between, Little Red Corvette and When Doves Cry.
Okay.
Not 8 days, 7 days out of the week. It's or I should say 6 days out of the week. It's When Doves Cry, and then there's just that mood. I'll just be in a mood where I'm like, Little Red Corvette, give me it. Come here.
Yeah, man, Corvette is something crazy, man.
It's like, man, like it's a shame. Growing up, I was a Michael guy. Like, it's like, oh yeah, no, like Michael's the best, right? And there's validity to that. It's music.
Yeah, Michael's an amazing artist, and quite frankly,
exactly.
I feel like everybody nobody. I can't think of anyone who is like a Prince stan who was like a Prince stan as a kid. Everybody loved Michael's music when they were younger, so that's completely understandable.
Yeah, because like when you get like as I got older, I'm like, yeah, no, Michael's music still is not like just for like as a kid you enjoy the poppy, the back, it's all the dance moves that are all fun and everything. But like I feel like with Prince, like it was as an adult, the music became you related to it a little bit more because you had those experiences where it's like Michael's you still tied to your nostalgia of growing up and listening to Michael's music, and you don't quite, and that nostalgia kind of gets in the way of relating to the music as an adult more than relating to Prince's, because you don't have the the roadblock of nostalgia.
And Prince just dealt with more like adult themes more consistently than Mike did. Mike did too. It just came like way later in his career.
Yeah. But the reason I bring that up is because today's topic is related to Prince.
Oh boy.
I wouldn't say oh boy, because it's actually, well, there could have been.
I don't know if it's a bad oh boy.
Yeah. There was, man, it sucks. And not to go on a side tangent tirade, but man, it sucks that Patrick Clark is a groomer and a piece of shit, because boy, he had it figured out with the Velveteen Dream character. It was the best version of a wrestler. If Prince was a wrestler of all time, turned out the guy doing it was a groomer. That's unfortunate. That's not what we're talking about. That is not what we're talking about. What we are talking about, in 1998, and in 96, 97, 98, in WCW, there was a wrestler by the name of Prince Iaukea. He was kind of okay, but also just kind of just there. He was nothing spectacular, but he also wasn't atrocious. He's like the player on the team that is good enough to be on the roster consistently, but not good enough that you want him on the court. Like, you're like, well, if he's on the court, but, we could have a lot worse spots for him. Basically, he's like the quintessential Sacramento King player.
Okay.
Oh,
And then he went through, he was being pushed at the very same time as the NWO in these realistic, entertaining characters like your Hulk Hogan's, or Hollywood Hogan's, your Kevin Nash's, Scott Hall's. And on the other side of WCW, you have your Stings. You have these, charismatic characters, and there's just this guy who shows up every so often.
mm-hmm.
1998 rolls around, and he starts hitting they just kind of throw him out there to lose. Well, in 1999, at the end of it, he decides to re-envision himself as the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea.
Oh no.
And what we're going to watch today is his last match as Prince Iaukea, which was at Starrcade 1998, and then we're going to watch him become cruiserweight champion at Superbrawl 2000, which is also notable because that's when James Brown showed up there. So it was a little James Brown and Prince both have kind of their fingers.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Yes, the actual James Brown, not.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that's what we're gonna watch here on the Dork Side of the Ring, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, little break in the action here just to talk about what we got working here on the Dork Side of the Ring, coming up and other stuff. August was the planned McMahon month. We're still going to kind of go through it, but we're not going to be as inadvertently celebratory of Vince McMahon himself. We're also going to incorporate the rest of the family, but that's what is ahead. August is going to be a fun month. We're going to bring back some fun names to talk about some memorable, dorky, just ridiculous stuff. In fact, here I got the list right here of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, in August, we've got the billionaire battle, the Battle of the Billionaires from WrestleMania 23. We've got Kane and Shane McMahon's feud that culminated in an ambulance match at Survivor Series 2003. Vince and Stephanie McMahon taking each other on. Vince versus God, and also Vince blowing up because he blew up. And all those things that go into that. Also on the Patreon, going up this week and next week. This week, if you are on the Patreon, you can see the Final Deletion watch along with myself and Midman and Pudge. We're talking about the Final Deletion, the very first one between Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. And then we've got the Custody of Dominic Mysterio watch along with myself, Oren, and Shawningham from episode 35. It is a good one. So they'll be on the Patreon within the next 2 weeks. Also, you can continue to follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram at DorksideRing. Get all the fun content. Tell your friends. Leave a review. 5-star review in the iTunes store. You leave it 5 stars. Go to Spotify. Just leave a 5-star rating. You can't put words out there. Don't understand why, but do all that. Help us grow. It'll help us out a lot here. I appreciate it. If you also like other content including here, if you just like me and want to consume more Grum in your life, go to just grum.tv. Join the Discord today. Get notified when I go live, when I'm working on projects and other things in the future. I appreciate that. Now let's get back to the episode. We're back on the Dork Side of the Ring. We lost Wheezy. Wheezy had to go take care of stuff, and we'll get Wheezy back in the future. In the meantime, it is myself and Robi. Robi, first impressions of the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea.
I can't believe what I just saw. What? He didn't even look like.
He looked exactly like
His hair out. He just had like the pencil thin mustache, a frilly shirt, some very 2000s like super reflective. Like he looked like he was in the in the Michael Jackson Scream video. More than he looked like Prince.
Look, it is wrestlers, I should say. have a weird and just inability to actually research things. An interesting, like, it just feels like they're like, all right, Prince, purple, androgynous, sex positive.
Licks his hand.
A
lot.
Like, that's what it was, right? And like and that might
licks
be
other people. Yeah.
And that might be one of the more like more thought out or researched, because back then, like, they were still like, all right, hey, here's the idea, especially WCW. WCW just kind of gave the idea, like, hey, this is the gimmick. All right, cool, go ahead, it's all yours. And then, like, would let you do things and if you got in trouble for it, you got in trouble for it. Very ask for forgiveness, then seek permission type thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But like, wrestling in general has such a piss poor job. We were talking about Goldust, who is a future Dorkside topic. So Dustin Rhodes gets fired. I gotta give a little. He gets fired from WCW, calls WWE, and Vince McMahon goes, "Yeah, come meet. We'd love to meet you. Come up to Stanford." He goes up to Stanford. They're like, "We got this idea for you. Character's name's Goldust. You're androgynous." And Dustin Rhodes like, "What's that mean?" And they gave it right. Dustin Rhodes, 6'6", Texas boy. The fuck is that? Right? I don't know. Androgynous has got
built like Groove from Despicable Me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got 3 syllables too much for old Dustin Rhodes. And so he goes
with a salad.
He's like, yeah, I'm down. Yeah. And they're like, all right, perfect. We'll get together with creative services. Blah 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 blah. So he goes home. He goes home, then decides to go to the public library. This is how he tells the story. He goes to the public library and just finds androgynous in the dictionary to find out what androgynous means.
Son.
And then just goes to what his interpretation of the definition of androgynous.
The definition of pre-internet, people were in hell.
Right?
Like, what?
And like, it is, and that's that's a base level. Another example of somebody actually doing some leg of research. Charles Wright, who better known as the Godfather, somebody who we on the Dork Side, me and you have seen.
Apollo legend, WWE legend.
Joker cosplaying, or Riddler cosplaying. He was previously, before Godfather, before the Ultimate Weapon, and before that, he was Papa Shango, who is a voodoo doctor, right? Charles Wright, not from Louisiana, no background in hoodoo or voodoo or anything. He's like, well, all right, I got to figure this out. So he goes to New Orleans for about like a weekend to learn everything he can about it so that he can have a basis, right? And that's like, people are like, why are you putting so much in? Like, just like, like, read about it. And it's like, no, like, he told Stone Cold on the Broken Skull, he's like, I wanted to make sure, he goes, I know nothing about that, and I wanted to give it as much respect as I could give it. And I'm saying, like, you gave it a weekend of respect. That's
yeah, I was about to say, that is not, like, you wanted to give it as much respect as you could, then man, what?
Like, and I understand, like, you gotta make money. You're like, hey, you're not going, if you're the starving artist, syndrome, you're not gonna, oh man, my morals are for sale. Like, and he didn't treat, like, it's something where I don't have, experience with it, but I just can tell that it wasn't treated with respect, because they're just like, yeah, here's this voodoo doctor with a skull face paint and a cane with shrunken heads on it and fur, and they're just like they just basically like, all right, here are all the buzz things that people can understand what it is, and also make him do a voodoo curse on the Ultimate Warrior, and
see, now I've got to see what that looks like, because
I'll have to show. I don't. Oh, man, I think I have it. I have to find it. I have like the video. Because that was before I pre-recorded everything. So like it happened over the course of like a 4-week program. So Ultimate Warrior, wins a match, and Papa Shango comes after saying that the Ultimate Warrior would be his next target. He comes out and he does his he rolls his eyes to the back of his head, and he starts shaking the cane with the it had smoke coming out of it, and he's like chanting, and Ultimate Warrior grips his stomach and falls over off of the apron, and then they wheel him to the back, and then he throws up on everybody. And then they're like, what, the next week Papa Shango sets fire to his opponent. Really, he just set fire to his boot, right? He made the lights go out and the guy collapsed and his boots caught on fire. That was the whole thing. And then the week after that, Papa Shango put a curse on the Ultimate Warrior, and the Ultimate Warrior is like, nah, I'm not cursed, blah, 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 blah. Well, he comes out and he's got a jacket on, which is unlike the Ultimate Warrior, and his hand is in, and his one hand stays in his pocket the whole time, which again, unlike Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. And then, as the interview is going, this black goo just drizzles from his forehead, from his hairline, and he was cursed by a thing. And then they did it again with Mean Gene Okerlund the next week. And it's just what the hats off to the commitment on the production team to be like, hey, this is where we're going with this. We're gonna make this.
Listen, I wish any of them had been this committed to just actually going and speaking to someone who is Creole or Haitian or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's no, we're just gonna do voodoo. We're gonna do we're gonna continue the stereotype that voodoo is evil, and that voodoo is used by evil people, and they curse you. It's supernatural. And then he had a short feud with Undertaker and got boxed up, packed home, and we didn't see Papa Shango for a little bit.
Yeah, boom, voodoo done.
And it was just funny that that same guy, roughly 5-6 years later, is offering hoes to his opponents in exchange to win a match. And my only thought was, man, it would have been funny to see Papa Shango with some hoes.
Man, I still can't get that image out of my head.
From the wedding?
Of the wedding. At the very end, when he took all the hoes out. And JBL JBL flew by that camera like a football player running a 40-yard dash, man.
And then Vince telling him to go back, and he's like, "No, I'm going where fuck this job. I'm going to get the hose."
Yeah,
which
I go.
Which, understandably, we've all been there. That's not an but
yeah, but I've never been there in a suit and a cowboy hat with a microphone taped to my chest.
The best. That's still one of my favorite. My favorite watch-alongs available on support.crum.tv is me, you, and Kurt. I think it's actually up on I think it's still up for free because I do November for free.
Because he loves y'all.
It is
making y'all asses pay.
It's me, Robi, and Kurt, and just the sheer everything that happened from Jillian Hall interrupting or coming out after Jagged Edge, let's get married.
There was so much going on.
Teddy Long's heart attack. I gotta go back to I gotta go back to that group message so I can get the picture of Teddy as the British guard, and so I can add sad Teddy officially to my Discord.
Do that. Oh man.
God, it's so funny because it's like, man, it was. I think we said it. It was the blackest episode of WWE television of all time. It was a Tyler Perry. It inspired Tyler Perry to make movies. They were in Atlanta. They had Jagged Edge. They had every interruption that you could get. Bruce was the priest. Was the priest. Oh man, Jim Duggan put a tie on his 2x4.
I still think the funniest moment outside of JBL running past the ring might have been when the Godfather and L Train ran up in the ring and the camera panned over to Bruce and Bruce looked right in the camera. Winking a point. So winking a point right in the camera. It's like, hey, brother, you're not supposed to stare at the camera when you do.
No, he needed us to know that he knew. He knew he was looking.
He was like, you see it? Because I see him.
When Crystal wanted Ron Simmons, where you going? Ron Simmons, where you think you're going? And he's like, damn. Hey. Just so good.
Wait, but speaking of black.
Yeah.
I got to get back to those pants that the artist had on. Because what the fuck? Grunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, right? They brought him out.
Mm-hmm.
They shine. It wasn't even like they cut the lights. They shine basically a black light on the entire crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
He comes out in this super dark, ugly ass long trench coat jacket, these big black reflector pants that was super 2001, some boots that I couldn't see, and a black shirt with as many frills as you would imagine of someone doing a Prince impression. But you couldn't see because the shirt was black and it was dark. So
don't forget the his hat, the 2000 the 2000 early 2000s TRL girl in Times Square hat.
Yeah, that's the old play in the club hat.
But fur, fur.
Right. Yeah, now you order. You know what I'm saying? You go and get you the Hennessy straight or something with that hat on. And then, Grum, you pointed out to me,
mm-hmm.
because we saw Paisley first, and I was like, she looks familiar. You're the one who pointed out to me that that was Sharmell.
Yep, Queen Sharmell, Hall of Famer. The better half of Booker T.
Correct.
Yeah.
All of our queen. My queen, your queen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember us having a conversation about Booker T, which Booker T is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I think he's one of the funniest people that ever worked for the WWE, whichever, you know? Yep. So I often find myself having conversations about him and old matches and things that he did and promos that he cut. I think you were the one that brought up to me that Sharmell had previously been like going to the ring with other people before she was she with Booker at that time? It was like 2000, so she had to be.
So right? I don't know when they started dating. So Sharmell was a member of the Nitro Girls, which in 1995, 1996, Eric Bischoff, in an effort to distinguish himself and his product, WCW, from WWF, he wanted the more, adult age, older teens, young adults, adult males attention. And in doing so, women's wrestling wasn't where it is now, where you can put beautiful women in a match and it'd be a good match. And there wasn't a lot of women who were wrestling in general.
Involved with the industry.
So he went and got Nitro dancers. Basically a dance, a dance team for WCW. They would come out in between commercial breaks and do a dance routine for the fans in attendance, and then they would do one or two for the TV show, and people would be like, "Yeah, let's love it!" Like, yeah, girls dancing. So she ended up as as one of the, I want to say like the second or third round of like Nitro Girls, because they would get like new ones every couple of years, and DDP's wife was a Nitro Girl at one point, but in like 1999 they kind of got rid of them, and they wanted to have the Nitro Girls play roles in the show. So a lot of them became managers. Some of them became just on-screen personalities. Stacy Keibler was Miss Hancock, who became one of the more popular ones because she was unique in that she was blonde, but no big boobs, long ass legs, and wore a short skirt. And that their demographic was big into that. By the way, our Queen Sharmell, age 20, won Miss Black America. Which
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh yeah. All right. This is a weird one. Okay, so at age 20, she won the 1991 Miss Black America pageant. She was Miss Black Indiana, which the pageant itself was marred by accusations of rape by Miss Black Rhode Island, Desiree Washington, against pageant judge Mike Tyson.
What?
Yep. Didn't think we would get to that part. Mike Tyson there. We're just all over.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from
Neither
that.
do I. Neither do I.
Yeah, I was not expecting to get a Mike Tyson reference of any kind. I did not know what name you were about to say there.
Nope.
I did not expect it to come with rape accusations. So that is
Yep.
Worth some looking into.
Yeah. So 99 she debuted as a Nitro Girl as Storm, and then she redubbed herself Paisley. She was also a part of a pop music group called Diversity 5.
Are you No, she wasn't.
Yep.
No, she like an actual pop, or something. WWE
was a part of the pop music group Diversity 5 with other Nitro Girls: Fire, Fyre, Spice, Shay, and Tigress.
Okay, all those names are fine, but how did they get those 5? Well, because they were named by somebody else. I was about to say, how do you get those 5 names and then make a group, and that's the name that you come up with for the group?
Look, I don't know, but in 2001, when Sharmell was signed with the WWF, she was replaced in the group by Chiquita Anderson, who was also a Nitro Girl.
I'm sorry, Chiquita's a fire name. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I'm trying to see Diversity 5. It was several Nitro Girls form a pop group called the Diversity 5. D5
now I've got to find songs.
Released one CD single, I Promise / Shake Me Up in 2001. They appeared on the Fox reality show 30 Seconds of Fame in 2002 and were promptly voted off.
Oh baby, yeah, I gotta find this. I'm gonna listen to this tonight.
I'm trying to see who else was like.
Yeah, man, they picked up a gimmick. It didn't work, fell through, so they cut it. Yeah, sounds like AEW.
Yep. I was trying to see if there was anybody else. Shawn Michaels' wife, Rebecca, was
former Nitro Girl.
Yep. Whisper.
Wow.
Was Whisper. Kimberly
That's
Page was Diamond Dallas Page's wife, but before. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. Chiquita Anderson Graduated from the Philadelphia University of Arts with an associate's degree in dance. After they're disbanded, became blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. That apparently they talk about how the Nitro Girls led to a lot of just people just marrying wrestlers. But other than a couple, I don't see much. Yeah, no other interesting tidbits for the Nitro Girls. But yeah, Queen Sharmell was Paisley. She was the manager for the artist. I guess valet, right? Because I guess the difference is she didn't manage per se, but she accompanied. And she would end up also being the valet for Kwee-Wee. Kwee. There's a wrestler by the name of Kwee-Wee. It's Kwee, first name, last name Wee.
Wee.
Yep.
Huh.
And he his whole gimmick was that he was a stylist, right? So she kept her whole thing was she's fashionista. She's this kind of attractive woman into fashion. So those are the kind of the wrestlers she was a valet for. But then there was a small window of time where Kwee-Wee was aligned with Haku, or at the time Meng, and so she would accompany them both out in her standard gear, and then she would walk back she would go to the back, and she would come out with an afro wig. Because Meng had an afro.
Yeah.
So it was her going in. It was the Jerry the King Lawler or Kurt Angle dropping the straps moment. Oh no, she went and got it her
the hair. Got the afro. I got to turn up now.
I'm trying to find when they got married, Booker and Sharmell, but at the time, Booker T's brother, Stevie Ray, was on commentary, and he would take shots at Sharmell.
Oh no!
Why? To me, the way I read them was, hey, you're dating my brother, and Stevie and Booker T have a complicated relationship itself between themselves, but I think at that time they were on good terms, and I think that was just playful banter between brother and girlfriend. He didn't go over the line, but he would he would call all women yaks.
Huh?
Yeah, look, I don't know. There was a lot of he was trying to get a lot of catchphrases.
Yak like the animal?
I don't know. I just know that's what he would just say yak. And but he
I feel like this is some yakety yak woman be talking thing.
Very misogynistic. But she gave it right back to Stevie. And so it's one of these things that's why it became he would just say something about her hair, being yo, your hair is a mess, and she would be I know you're not talking at least I got hair type. I'm oh, okay, I think they're right. Okay, right? I guess I don't know.
Listen, I hate to agree with a potential very misogynistic man, but in the clip that we just watched, brother, that hair was going through it. She because they had to give her the 80s. I don't even know what that style is, but if you see the 80s hair bands, the really big puffy hair, and it's one thing to do that with white people's hair.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, trying to do that with black people's hair and have it not be a fro, if your hair naturally grows that way, then I guess it's a little bit easier. But dude, they had to tease the hell out of her hair to get it that way, and I know that was a process, and I know it just was mind numbing trying to get it that way every single time she had to walk this motherfucker out to the ring.
that was the only time I believe they had her hair looking like that. I believe most times.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Because I'm assuming that it's like that all the time.
No. That was like that for that match in particular, because that was his crown. Like, he was becoming the cruiserweight champion and whatnot. So they wanted.
So this is a super important event for him personally.
Yeah. So so when, as I told you during the while we were watching it, I wanted to show his debut, and his debut, because you don't see him for almost a full year. He's off television, and in the beginning of December of '99, they show like a vignette of him just with a dove resting on his hand. And they're like, and then that's it, right? The music's playing, that's it. He doesn't say anything. And then Tony Schiavone's like, you know who that was? That was the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea, who will make his debut this week on Thunder. And then I was going to cut it to his debut on Thunder, where he comes out, similar entrance. You know, he's got the music, the purple lighting and everything. But he doesn't have the jacket and the hat. He just comes out with a white blouse, which looks purple but it's got all the frills. And Paisley comes out in a dress and all, you know, and she looks.
Yeah, see, I feel like that's the look I had to see.
Yeah, unfortunately, the unfortunate part is Juventud Guerrero was doing commentary on Thunder around that time, and he was often probably under the influence of something. The juice was loose.
Hell yeah!
And he would talk like a wrestler would talk instead of being a commentator. So he would he'd often like use insider terms like, "Oh, this guy's a jobber. This guy's this, that, blah, blah, blah." And like they just kept doing it. Because he was, I never understood. I can't do this. I'm like, why?
Well, I was gonna say, did they ever come behind and like explain like any of these things that he was saying? No,
but they had him on there for months before they removed him, and they put somebody else there.
Oh boy!
And he was doing an imitation of The Rock. So like he would call himself the Juice.
Oh boy!
And like all the stuff, and he'd be like, he would get the names wrong of the plate. Like, it was just bad, right? And
sounds like it.
Yeah. So Prince Iaukea comes out, the artist comes out, and Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay are trying to hype it up as like this big thing. Like, hey, look, like, we haven't seen him, you know, and he's gone through a full transformation, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Juventud Guerrero is like, what? Is that Prince Iaukea? Oh, he sucks. Oh. Like, and like,
that motherfucker's a bum.
At first, I'm like, all right, this is elite hating. Like, this is incredible hating. All right, he's like, what a fitting, like, what a gimmick for a bad wrestler. Like, he's just shitting on him, and it's all laughs. It's all good. It's all funny. You know, he just hates this dude, and then he goes and says that he is a homophobic slur, or he looks like a homophobic slur. On the mic, and nobody checks him.
I was gonna say, did anybody like stop?
Nobody turns his mic off for the match. Tony Schiavone.
So who's his partner at the time?
Who? Like on the
on the call.
So it was Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Juventud Guerrero. And Juventud Guerrero says the homophobic slur, and they're just like, all right, next, like, we're gonna ignore that ever.
Yeah, trying to trudge along.
Right? They're just like, they're like, we're just gonna try to keep talking. The two of us are gonna talk all the time. Don't let him talk. And Juventud Guerrero, not giving a fuck, clearly, continues to just talk and shits all. But like, it's like, yo, I can't, like, it is insane, because I've said multiple times on this podcast, I watch wrestling before bed, and I like to watch old wrestling in general. It's one, you know, I like wrestling. Wrestling's history with the queer community is very complicated in the sense that it is very not good. Only recently is it even is there even a place, and it's basically like a lot of the LGBTQ wrestlers have basically just fucking forced an area for them to be safe in, and people are like, wait, that's some good stuff. Let's get that. Like Effie's does a great job. Nyla Rose on AEW, the first trans woman to ever win a major championship in America. Like a lot of good stuff. A lot of bad stuff. We were talking about Goldust a little bit and how they kind of just made him bad guy because he kissed a guy. They also did like it's a weird when I talk about Goldust, it's going to be a two-parter because there's a lot that happened before Glad was like, you need to stop this. Like, you're going way too far. And then there's a lot of stuff after.
To Goldust or to Vince?
To the WWE. Like, they came down and they were, like, protesting the shit out of them. And they were writing, like, USA Network, all their syndicate. Like, they were, anybody that was in deals with WWE, they were basically going like, look, you need to understand they're villainizing who is to be insinuated a gay man,
right? A gay character, right? And
in response to some of it, they're just like, all right, well, let's have his wife Terry Runnels be his valet, be his manager. So now you can't. He's not gay. He's got a hot woman next to him, and it's like, like. And it worked for some of their fans. They're not. We talked about the 40,000 fans, being convinced by WWE to register to vote, and potentially the 600 that were convinced by Jerry Lawler to vote for George Bush in Florida. But like, that's the history, right? That's the history of WWE, but not just WWE, because pro wrestling, they've always had effeminate characters, flamboyant wrestlers who were bad guys, right? Because they broke the norm, right? You see these big, tough guys, and then you see this guy wearing pink, or you see this guy wearing makeup, or you see this guy walking differently.
Man, listen, HBK was walking out with feathered hair in the 80s. Like, what are we talking about?
Right? But even then, he wasn't a bad guy. Why? Because they positioned him as the good guy, right? It's all like, hey, we're, and even when he was the bad guy, when he was, he kicked, Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window.
It wasn't made to be because of how he looked or anything like that. Yes. Because of the things that he did.
Right? Like, yeah, sure. Him and Rick the Model Martel, they're both conceited, right? They're both arrogant, right? They're both self-centered, but they like women. They're just good. They're good-looking dudes who are full of themselves. But then you see like an Adrian Adonis who became flamboyant and gained a little weight, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh God, he's ill. What the? And then he's wrestling in Boston, in New York, and in Philadelphia. But the one that sticks out to me is in Boston, in the Boston Gardens. He's wrestling, and in the front row are children who are chanting homophobic slurs.
Oh no!
And it's getting picked up, and on the call, they're just like, Adorable Adrian's not that big of a, not that popular here in the Boston Garden tonight, huh, Gorilla?
Popular.
And it's just like that's the history of pro wrestling, and it's not like WWE's a big criminal in this, but WCW, Jim Crockett, Mid-South, they would do this because anything different than the norm was bad. I've talked about Sputnik Monroe and how he basically desegregated professional wrestling in Memphis by simply being a bad guy because he liked black people and treated them with respect.
What? That's crazy.
Right? So the story of Sputnik Monroe, the short version, he picked up somebody on the road, a black guy who was going to the show. He needed to sleep. He needed to sleep off a rough night. So he told the guy at the side of the road, he goes, I'll let you drive my car and I'll get you into this building. If you drive me to the venue, I need to sleep some of this off.
Right.
Guy gets in the car, drives him and Sputnik Monroe, doesn't expect Sputnik Monroe to follow through. Sputnik Monroe grabs the guy, sees everybody go, "Oh, boo! What are you doing, man?
Touching.
What are you doing?" Right? And then now he puts his arm around the guy, and he kisses the side of his head, and he walks the guy right through the crowd into the arena.
My brother in Christ, who told you to kiss me on the side of the head? I was getting into the show.
So then, he's doing all this stuff, and then he goes to the promoter. He's like, after that, he ingratiates himself to the black community. He goes to the bars where black people feel safe. He becomes he becomes their guy. So to the white people, he's evil, right? They're booing him. But because it's segregated, all the people up top, all the black people, they are cheering for him. It is loud. They are spending money to come see Sputnik Monroe because they love Sputnik Monroe. And he goes to the promoters and he's like, look, y'all got to stop. You're losing money because I'm seeing a lot of empty seats on these first levels. I guarantee if you let black people down here, they'll buy all the tickets. Fuck it. They'll sell at the top and the bottom.
Mm.
And they're like, no, we can't do that because if we do that, then no white people are going to come. He goes, man, money is money. If you want to make money, you'll do this.
Right.
And it's one of those things of, was it done with the best intentions to desegregate? No, but also it got shit working to where the trickle down starts happening. You get Ernie Lads, who is a black champion, is an incredible talent, and people are wanting to see him in the Mid-South areas. And then you got Bearcat, you have the first Bearcat, and he's big in there. And you have these black wrestlers who are now getting chances to be, unfortunately, the token black wrestler. But because they're good, they're getting pushed, and they're selling they're selling tickets, and they're getting people involved who, were ignored by promoters for decades because, well, everybody ignored them. But it's one of these things of man, wrestling's history is a complicated and fucking Bill Watts, the story with Bill Watts and Hank Aaron, right?
Wait, this sounds familiar.
So Bill Watts was the president of WCW in 92, 93, 94.
Yes, I do know. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because I do remember this stuff.
He's the president of WCW, man. So he's up there in the Turner sports structure. He's up there. Also up there is one Hank Aaron, former home run champion.
Yeah.
A man who had dealt with an insane and ridiculous amount of racism for just being good at the sport.
Correct.
But through those trials and tribulations, he found himself on the other side a very well-respected and powerful ally in one Ted Turner, who himself might be one of the only good media moguls because he was very inclusive at a time when no one else was inclusive. He made sure that they did not use coarse language. He wanted to make sure that the news was the news and nothing else. And built his empire on news, wrestling, and baseball. All decent. I mean, baseball's a little racist, still is. But
I was going to say, listen, you'd have been better off saying that.
Just
on this idea, police. I've been doing this for 16 years. I ain't never heard of a police presence.
Chuck, help me! Chris Paul
coming to beat me up.
So good. It's wild that we can damn near just recite line for line, word for word.
Nah, listen, I've seen that video
so good.
No less than 114 times.
It's so good.
A ridiculous amount.
Police presence.
Please
continue. So the story goes, Bill Watts has his version of the story that is more likely the truth. Bill Watts said some sideways shit to Hank Aaron, and Hank Aaron told him to pack his shit and get the fuck out of Turner Towers. And Bill Watts went to go, "You're not the boss of me." And
Oh no!
and Hank Aaron said, "Bet." And then,
All right, I'm friends with the boss dude.
Then the next day, Bill Watts is out, and WCW's on the chopping block. like it went that, like it was that far where other, because it wasn't just like WCW was Ted Turner's baby. Like of all, like he's always loved wrestling. He built his empire around, wrestling on Saturday nights at 6:05, and he wanted to see WCW succeed, and he just kept picking bad people to run it, and then eventually Eric Bischoff goes in there, and he calls Eric Bischoff in for a meeting. Eric Bischoff thinks it's just a standard meeting of like going over the quarter, and like Ted Turner goes, "Eric, what do we got to do to compete with WWE with Vince?" And Eric looks at his notes and he's like, "I didn't prepare a dick for this." Okay, but because your boss is like, "How do we do this? You better come up with something." He goes, "We get live television. We do our wrestling live at the same time that they do theirs, but ours is live every week. Theirs is pre-recorded." And he goes, "God damn it! All right, this September we'll get it." And he goes, "It's April. I gotta get a fucking TV show together in 4 months." And it's like, Jesus Christ. But it worked out. But yeah, like it's like, again, the history. But Bill Watts is often referred to as somebody who was a ally for black wrestlers in wrestling because.
Yeah, it's funny how that goes, man.
Right?
One person's ally.
Right? Because he was Junkyard Dog. Because he pushed Junkyard Dog. Right? Junkyard Dog, he made money with. He made Junkyard Dog so goddamn popular that by the time Junkyard Dog went to the WWE, you could argue that Junkyard Dog was more popular than Hulk Hogan. That kids wanted to, because Junkyard Dog was so fun, and he was just authentic. Like he was just authentic. He had a very unique voice, and he came out. He looked cool. He did the shake rattle. He had the knees going, all that stuff. He did the dog headbutt. Great stuff. So what did Bill Watts do when he leaves? He goes, "Butch Reed, you're up. You got to be the next Junkyard Dog. You're black. You'll do." Meanwhile, Butch Reed looking at him like, "I'm a heel, my man. Like I'm a bad guy. Like I'm a bad dude." And
brother, these people actively hate me.
He's like, "They hate me because I'm black." He's like, "Yeah, but they're gonna love you because you're black. You understand? You know what I mean? Yeehaw."
Right.
It's like, whatever, man. Check's clear. I'm fine. And then Butch Reed's like, "Fuck this. Fuck this. I'm gone. Like I'm making less money now because now you make me a good guy, but nobody like me." And like Ron Simmons was the first black NWA champion in 1992. He beat Vader under Bill Watts. Why? Because Bill Watts goes, I drew money with Junkyard Dog. Also, Ron Simmons is a bad motherfucker. He also is one of the only non-skill position players to be a finalist for the Heisman. His numbers retired. Yeah, Ron Simmons was a problem. 3-syllable problem at Florida State. His numbers retired. Bobby Bowden's like, he's the greatest recruit I ever had.
What position did you play for Bobby?
Nose tackle.
Okay.
Right? Let me see if I can find Ron Simmons.
That makes some sense.
Right? I want to see what his Heisman year was. The close to Heisman year. He's inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame.
College Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, I bet.
2-time All-American.
Not a small man.
No siree. He played 4 years as a defensive nose guard. They were 39-8 during his years at the school.
Dude, I just learned that Ron Simmons played football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just learned it. This is crazy.
He finished 9th in the Heisman voting behind the winner Charles White of USC. And that was in 79. In 88, his number was retired. The third time a number had been retired in school history. He was inducted in the Orange Bowl Hall of Fame and elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. I want to see.
Why the hell does the Orange Bowl have a separate Hall of Fame?
I don't know. fucking full of themselves. I don't know. They earned back-to-back trips to the Orange Bowl after his junior and senior seasons. Like he was a problem, and I'm not sure if I can find any good stats for him. But like the fact that like Bobby Bowden, he's like, this guy right here is the reason why we were so good for those 4 years, where we finished in the AP top 20 3 times, 77, 79, and 80. Also,
yeah, he was playing ball back and playing a position at a time when people tell you they were cold, you just gotta take their word for it because the numbers ain't gonna show it.
Yeah. And like, so he was just somebody asked him once, they're like, hey Ron, why doesn't anybody fuck with you? And his response is, because I'm unfuckwittable.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? It's a great bar.
Line.
It's a fucking bar.
My goodness.
But yeah, Bill Watts seeing, hey, we're not doing well with business. Here is a blue chip athlete, because he loved himself at like college athletes. Dr. Death Steve Williams, who played against Ron Simmons while Williams was in Oklahoma. He loved himself some Dr. Death, 300 pounds, this big, just bastard of a man. Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Yeah, man.
And he's like, this guy, the people are behind him. This is great. Yeah, no, this is incredible. All right,
brawl for it all, Dr. Death. That's funny.
Also, yeah. Also, he's black, so let's get the title on Ron Simmons. Like, and Ron Simmons, well respected. He often when talked about that, he goes, I understand why it's important, but I don't view myself as a black world champion. I view myself as a world champion. He's like, that was the important part to me. He's like, I understand why it was important to other people that you attached the adjective of black there, but and I'm like, part of me is like, I understand where you're coming from, because for you, that was the goal. It wasn't to be the first black world champion. That's a byproduct of the goal. The goal was
right. Yeah, he didn't want
world champion.
They were otherizing his accomplishment. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and but like, he's very, I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like he's very offended when people bring that up, and I'm just like,
What, like that he got the particular push that he did because he was black, or
I think that's part of it, is that he feels that people try to discredit him and his successes because he feels like they're trying to tokenize it. While
because that's how it always goes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of people, when they bring him up nowadays, are like, that's an important thing. Like, we're not trying to trivialize it. It's an important milestone.
Okay. Yeah, I can see like the generational gap in between, like how these two, how this is perceived.
Like
from then to now. Okay.
He got the world championship in 1992. The NWA had been around for 50 some odd years by this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not once did they put it on Big Cat Ernie Ladd or any other black talent. It got to a point where the NWA was no longer what it once was. They were like, oh, we're fine with the Harley races, and we're fine with, Ric Flair's and Dusty Rose. Like, those are the people we want. And it's like, they're great talents, but like, Ernie Ladd was right there just as good. And there were other black talent that should have gotten recognition that just didn't. And, it's like one of these things, like, we're not trivializing, like, we as a community of pro wrestling fans aren't trivializing and tokenizing Ron Simmons being the first black champion. We're making a fact of it took this long for him to be the first black champion. Like, we still do it today with, like, Bobby Lashley, Big E, Kofi Kingston, right? Before Kofi Kingston.
Before Kofi, yeah. There
was one other black champion, and it was The Rock. That's it. Like WWE, the title of the company. Mark Henry had been world heavyweight champion, the big gold belt before that, and that's, again, not trivializing he's a world champion, but WWE
also,
title.
The world championship belt was pretty hard. I remember what that looked like.
Yeah.
Didn't Booker hold that for a while too?
Booker as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so it's not, but it's like the company title, like the title they put above damn near every moment. Only one black man had ever held, and you
want that Monday Night belt.
right? And it was The Rock. And if you're black, if you're I'm white, I don't want to speak to it, but like if you look at The Rock, and if you don't look, if you're a darker tone, you're not going to think that that's you.
Yeah, no, I can reasonably understand a lot of people looking at The Rock and saying, "Yeah, I'm not quite connecting with this," because I know for a while. Well, not for a while. I never really have, like, not in that way. Like,
Mm,
I've always appreciated The Rock as just like a great talent and someone who's like great on the mic and like just
mm.
really funny and interesting. And now as I've gotten older, I've learned like also like a piece of shit, but generally just like funny and interesting and like a good wrestler, or whatever. But
Mm.
and I never like thought of The Rock as like you know my representation when I was a kid.
Mm.
Like the dude that I looked at that way when I was a kid watching wrestling was more so well Booker T, and then eventually you get Bobby Lashley,
Mm.
and I think I heard like I remember when Shelton Benjamin first came on the scene, and I was like, "Dude, what the hell is this?" Because it was around the time that Kofi also debuted, but I didn't really know much about him at the time.
Yeah, Shelton had a couple year head start. He debuted 2003. Kofi was 2009, so he about a 6 year head start. But like Shelton was another
Oh,
guy
that
that
was a big
like
difference.
yeah, Shelton was a guy. But the thing is like Shelton was a guy that they put in a spot and then they never moved him from that spot. And it was, you're going to be our hyper athletic good guy or our
Hmm.
hyper athletic bad guy. That's it. Like you're not world championship stuff. And he very
Yeah, he
well
was
could have
constantly
been.
going after either like Intercontinental
Yeah.
belt, United States Championship, or whatever it was. Like it was usually like bouncing back and forth between those two belts. Maybe form a tag team partnership with somebody. I don't
Yep.
even think he really held that title either.
After he had the world greatest tag team with Charlie Haas in 2000, and then that was about it. Like he maybe a couple like part-time stuff. I mean, there was also the Shelton Benjamin's mama gimmick, which
I forgot about that.
yeah, but yeah, like it's wrestling. Like when people are like the whole Vince McMahon stuff that came out this week of him quid quo proing paralegal for some sex and a hush money.
Hmm.
Um, like I'm not surprised by that. I mean,
No.
but also like it's not going to stop me from enjoying pro wrestling because there's a lot in pro wrestling that should have stopped me before, and like once like Owen Hart died because WWE was irresponsible. Sure, I wasn't aware enough to know that was WWE's fault, but also WWE didn't do anything about chair shots, and that led to that played a crucial part in Chris Benoit murdering his wife and son before taking his own life. Like, there's a lot, and if I draw like I should have drawn the line long ago, and I'm just kind of content with the fact that I just you know
Yeah, the market just never being picked up because yeah, like you said, if the line was going to be drawn, then
you know
would have been years ago.
like I still enjoy a lot of the workers, and I don't. There's workers I don't enjoy, and yeah, supporting. And AEW's got their own stuff. We were talking about the Jeff Hardy stuff. Like,
Hmm.
AEW has played a part in that by putting him out there
Yeah.
ridiculous spots and asking a 45-year-old man who is a recovering addict and just to continuously put himself in painful spots where he would probably
Or
end
he's
up.
going to seek out painkillers.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
or
It's sad, man.
just in general stuff, and it's like wrestling is just a microcosm of everything going on. So it's like y'all are enjoying the music industry. Music industry is terrible. Y'all enjoy the movie industry. It's terrible. Like
But
shit.
there are still people who are going to be watching the Washington football team play football this season.
Yeah.
After we've been seeing in the news a case about them and basically uh, whoring out like cheerleaders and like team employees like that on a boat, and they've been
Yeah.
going through that case for like 3 or 4 years now.
You remember the party boat for the Vikings, the sex boat. You remember how none of those players ever played again except for Dante Culpepper until he was no longer a good quarterback.
Man,
Fred Smoot was on that, and he was a good cornerback. I think he made the Pro Bowl the previous year. and he got maybe a season left.
Fred Smooth. I ain't heard that name in years.
Because they didn't want the stink of the sex party boat. Meanwhile, Daniel Snyder out here, and I don't think Daniel Snyder's at all liked or desired to be an owner by the rest of the owners. But he out here, like, you know, forcing women into human trafficking.
No, it's quite
employed.
Like, and listen, not only human trafficking, possibly human trafficking over international waters, because I don't know quite where the boat was as this was going on. So
yeah,
or like yacht or whatever it was. So yeah, man, like,
it's shit sucks. So we find the fun where we can find it. We're finding in wrestling. We talked enough about. I looked up. I'm like, wow, we've been doing this for over 2 hours. So.
Oh damn! Yeah, it's like 2.5 now.
Yeah. You know, final thoughts on the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea and his valet, Paisley.
Man, shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Queen Sharmell. The whole situation with the artist, that was a bad gimmick, and I'm glad that it didn't. How long did that run last? Even couple months, maybe.
Yeah, because he was released by like August of 2000.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't even last a full year. Okay. I'm glad for that. Frankly, because like Prince is very litigious, and the WWF or WWE at that time had to be watching their backs because I'm pretty sure that they do that. But yeah, no, bad gimmick, shouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was some other way for Prince Iaukea to have made a name and some staying power for himself, but they were not creative enough, and that's how you lose your job.
Yeah. Hey, man. Bill's going to keep coming, whether the gimmick's good or not.
Hey, listen, man, UPS still hiring all these years later after Biggie said it.
That's true. That's true. One more for the road. Let the people know where they can find you, what you got working on, and anything you would like to raise awareness for.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, Robi, that's the name you can find me under pretty much everywhere. Y, 4 E's, 4 R's, OBI. Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. I'm most active on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitch in a minute, but every now and then I'll stream something. It's usually me stinking at 2K. So, you know, if you enjoy that, then you can come and watch that. Nothing else really pressing at the moment. No podcasts that are pending. Some things that are, you know, in pre-pro, but I don't know. Nothing really. I don't really have much to push. I'm just glad you're able to have me back on for another pod.
Oh yeah, look, I was holding out for a little bit because I was like, ooh, I could probably get Robi in for McMahon month, and then I was watching some WCW and I saw the Prince, and I said, nope, Robi, I'm getting Robi asexually to talk about the artist formerly known as, and then I'm like, okay, because like I put out short. I'm gonna try to keep this short. The chord, it was on Michael Jackson's birthday too, which is I did not realize.
It's very funny because I remember you asking the question.
I said, "Hey, who here who here?" Like I was like, question for the chord: Michael Jackson or Prince? Because like, hey, the thought process is if you pick Prince, I'm asking like you're coming on and I'm showing you the Prince Iaukea. And I didn't like everybody tagged you into it, right? And I should have said, other than Robi, everybody other than
you know what's funny? I think you did.
And I said, besides Robi, I already know Robi. Like I'm looking for somebody to pair up Robi with. And then Weezy's like, yeah, I go with Prince. And I'm like, all right, Weezy's on. Like Weezy's coming back too. But we'll get Weezy on in the future. I'm gonna try to get Weezy on for some McMonth action, which is somebody asked me if I was concerned about like this news. I said no, because I'm not celebrating him. I'm fucking making fun.
Yeah, no, listen, this news is right in line with anything you would have been doing. Talking about this.
Like I'm working. I got the graphic coming up where I'm gonna. But
baby,
like so this is gonna come out like later. So by then it'll be up. So you'll know. I'm doing Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump at WrestleMania 23, the Battle of the Billionaires. That's got Jim Jam and Duff Guy Pat. Because Pat's Jim Jam's like, get me that topic with Pat. I'm gonna get
Okay,
Chet.
see, now I gotta hear Pat talk about it.
Yeah, I got Chet, Uncle Chet with the bad back and Basque, and I got them. I think I'm gonna do Vince McMahon versus God.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. Also on the docket, we've got Vince McMahon versus Stephanie McMahon in a I Quit match.
Oh, no. I forgot that.
And then I've got not one, but two on-screen Vince McMahon sort of deaths. One definitely death, kind of insinuated death. The other one, a tragic accident that leaves him telling Triple H, "Paul, I can't feel my legs." It is absolutely McMahon McMonth is going to be fun. And the thing is, that's just I picked 5 topics. They're all heaters. I'm not worried because there's a lot of there's Vince McMahon asking Steve Austin to save his daughter from being sacrificed. There's
Yeah,
Steve
dude, you could do a McMahon every month for the next 37 months and not run out of content. That motherfucker is just so hateable.
There's so much that he's done that it can get panned, get mocked, and be made fun of, and I am intending on doing that here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Thank you, Robi, for coming on. I am very happy to have you on all the time. Whenever you're encroaching the guest territory. That is, you message me that you want to come on and talk about something. I'm gonna say, all right, let me go find you a partner.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Like, that's all the guests, but you're all
right.
Like at this point, it's like, look, if you want to talk about something, like, because I've crossed as people listening to this. I've crossed 1 year. I've done this for a year now. So crazy. I've got a lot of, I've done 52 topics. I got even more, but I will revisit them with different people because some of these things are just so much fun to just talk about. Like, I'm sure I'm going to show the wedding of Teddy Long to somebody else, to another, because it's so much fun.
They're gonna die laughing.
And
my God, what a spectacle!
It's so much fun, and that's one of 2 weddings I've shown. I haven't even done the wedding of Al Wilson and Dawn Marie, because that's one where they strip down to their underwear to say their vows, and Al Wilson is like 50, 59, 60 years. He's an old wrinkly man in some whitey tighties.
No, wait, you know what's crazy? You know what came to my mind instantly when you said that? Who said that Edge was having sex in the middle of the ring?
I got that too. Like, they're like, that's a Vince. I could do that. Like, I have a McMahon McMonth idea where it's just shit that Vince McMahon was like, yeah, no, we're going to do this. Like the Katie Vick thing would have been a great.
Oh God.
But yeah, Robi, thank you, bud. I appreciate it. You are welcome back whenever you want to come back on. I love you. It was a good time having you.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Robi, for being a pal and coming on. Thank you, Wheezy, for being a pal as well and coming on. We're going to get Wheezy back on. Don't worry, you guys, because, I want to give Wheezy a full chance to be, get Wheezy's thoughts on stuff. It was a really good time, fun time to have just a fun discussion about a silly concept. We talked about the, how drastic the times were different, but also, like, Juventud Guerrero, man. Like, also WCW, man. Sending out drunk guy, a guy who's drunk, basically, on live. Basically sending out a drunk guy live on television to just be a commentary. Like, it's one thing to put a drunk guy on a microphone for a segment. The whole show he's there, and he's just saying some wildly phobic shit. So fuck Juventud Guerrero. But yeah, so in next week's episode, it is tentatively scheduled to be myself, Miss Michelle Jean, and Music Chick talking about a fun one. Let me just bring this up here because I had it written down and then I didn't. We're talking about the Rock concert. That's right, the Rock concert. We're getting music on. We're going to be talking about the Rock concert, when Rock was heel Rock and shitting on Sacramento and just it was good times. The Rock concert is one of the it's one of the things where like I don't think I haven't seen it in a while. I recorded it a bit ago, and I didn't make any mental notes on it because I'm like, all right. But is one of the more I don't think it ages well. A lot of Rock's better stuff doesn't age well because the Attitude Era was very much there was a TikTok or something that was like, oh, like John Cena speaking Chinese in WWE, and it's very respectful, and it's him learning Mandarin and whatnot. And then it smash cuts to The Rock doing it, and The Rock is being stereotypical about it. So it's one of the things of like going back and talking about these things. They're just inherently like don't age well. A lot of things don't age well. A lot of your old favorite shows don't age well. A lot of shows, one of my more favorite shows that I've watched it's How I Met, and I've watched several times over. It's How I Met Your Mother. It caught my eye when I was in like high school, and I just stuck through it and whatnot. Also, a big Jason Segel fan. But the first like season and a half are just loaded with transphobic jokes, and it's like, ugh. You go back and watch, and you're like, oh, okay, like, oh boy. But also, it's not just that. Like a lot of shows were, another show I enjoyed, which is a show that started in the early to mid 2000s, and saw its way through to the end, was Supernatural, and a lot of it makes some homophobic jokes and shit like that, and it's like, man, it is good that we have come a long way from where we have, but we got to go so much farther, man. We got so much. We're still behind on things, and and a lot of people are doing their damnedest to make sure we stay behind or even go back to the way things were. Yeah, it's rough out there. Boy, it can be hopeless. It can absolutely be hopeless, but I don't know. I don't want to get too. I don't like getting too serious and too down. But shit does suck. It does suck, but that doesn't mean we can't find the joys in life with our friends, with our communities that we have built and feel safe and be part of, and we can try to make things better as each day goes on, not just for ourselves but for others, and we should do that, and we should fight to do that. So, if you're listening to this and you're feeling down too, a wise man and he's wise. I think he's wise, but a wise man once relayed to me and some others is that life doesn't get better, it doesn't get easier. In fact, it probably gets harder, but you get better, and you learn, and you become stronger, and so that you're able to. You think life gets easier. It doesn't, but you do. You get better. You get smarter, stronger, savvier, more creative in how you deal with things, because you kind of have to, and that kind of shouldn't be the way it is, but you give yourself more credit, all right? You listening to this, person listening to my voice, give yourself more credit. You're a lot stronger than you think. You're a lot smarter than you think. And you got this. I believe in you. I love you. If no one said it to you yet today, I'll be the first one to say it. I love you. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at DarksideRing. Follow me at I am Grum on Twitter and on Instagram. I appreciate them. I'm getting close to 1,000, but I'm not trying to do the whole like, oh, I almost have 1,000 followers. Help me get. No, it's whatever. And if I get there, I want to get there like by, people just going, oh hey, this person's interesting. So, but yeah, so I appreciate it. Grum.tv is the Discord. I stream in the Discord once a week. Also on Twitch, twitch.tv/tgrum. Once I get it set up, I'll also stream onto my YouTube, stream onto other things, all this stuff. Yeah, and then just just keep doing you. Also, support.grum.tv is a Patreon. For as low as $1, you can support me and my content, and I appreciate any and all support, whether it's with money or if it's just your time. Your time is valuable, and thank you for spending part of your day with me, or letting me be a part of your day, a part of your week. I appreciate it. And leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating on Spotify if you feel so empowered to do so. Thank you. Next week, myself, Music Chick, Miss Michelle Jean, talk about the Rock concert. It'll be good times on the Dark Side of the Ring, where we don't take wrestling too serious, because wrestling is its best when no one's taking it seriously. I hope I won't be as phlegmy next week here on Dark Side of the Ring podcast.